Shalom, shalom. We are your brothers from Jerusalem Ministry. I'm Brother Palau. We have Brother Anayan in here. And we're going to be going over the recognitions of Clement. Going over the Jerusalem church got letters. The Jerusalem church have letters also. So we're going to be talking about some of these letters, going to be bringing forth some information. And Anayan, you can tune in if you like, if you want to chime in on anything, you know what I'm saying, you're more than welcome to also. So we're gonna be talking about the recognitions of Clement, just trying to give a proper understanding of the recognitions of Clement and what is it. The recognitions of Clement itself, it's a conglomerate book that's make up of letters. Letters from Clement to James, letters of Clement writing things about Peter ministry that he's sending to James, and his letters. And then you also have Peter actually talking about Jewish Christian doctrine and history. All right. So like the first couple of books in there, and I probably say like from the first book, book one, from like chapter 1 all the way to maybe chapter 26, is Clement pretty much setting the tone and giving you the what's going on, how he, became Peter secretary or attendant, how he became his secretary, and how he's, actually recording what Peter want him to record down. All right. So this is just one out of many books that the church actually have. I want to say books of letters, because what was going on is you had letters being sent out. You had letters being sent out throughout the church. Some these letters, the early form of these letters was in scrolls. Okay, they were sent out in scrolls. Then later on, the writing style changed, or the format style changed when it comes to how they wanted to publish things. Later on, it changed it to a book style of publishing things. So then it made letters or be easier to read than scrolls. You're pulling out a scroll and got to unravel a scroll all the way down. It kind of gets a little complicated. So with the letters, eventually it was more easier. But originally, it was letters was being sent out whether they were scrolls, and then later on, it may have been the Greco-Roman way that they started doing letters. They started it was a Roman, started pushing people to do these type of writing on this type of writing format, which is letter format. So then those eventually came out. But before that, like I said, it was scrolls being sent out, throughout the churches. It was scrolls and letters being sent out, but these letters was being sent out in a scroll form. So let me we're gonna go to something real quick. So like I said, the first book, chapter 1 to about 26, is setting the tone. It's setting the tone. And then from there, chapter 27 to 71 is pretty much giving you a Jewish Christian history leading up to the point where they're at that time that the story is taking place, which is taking place in the early 40s, probably like late 30s, early 40s. They say that ministry is speaking of, and the Recognitions of Clement is speaking of 7 years after the Messiah, 7 years after the Messiah was on the scene. All right. So I'm gonna read. Let's go to First Corinthians. You can see my screen though, right?
Yeah, I can see it.
I will go to Second Corinthians. I'm gonna go to Paul letter real quick, because Paul is not the only one that have letters, but I want to read something that Paul says in here. Let's read this. Can you read we in Second Corinthians chapter 3? Can you read verse 1 for me?
Yeah. Do we begin again to commend ourselves, or need we, as some others, epistles of commendation to you, or letters of commendation from you.
So it was letters being sent out to people, to different communities that are being set up. Or what later on became the word church, but it was letters being sent out to these different communities, and then these different communities was sending letters to Jerusalem also. It was letters being sent to Jerusalem. A lot of letters was being sent to Jerusalem. A lot of letters was being sent from Jerusalem. But we don't have these letters. Well, we do have all praise to the Most High that we do have some things. We do have, like I said, we're going to understand that Recognitions of Clement is a Jewish Christian document. It's a Jewish Christian document, and it has been preserved. Not it definitely may have some redactions in it, from the different scribes, translating it. But we have something that actually is Jewish Christian doctrine material. And from there, you can understand that I do believe that the Recognitions of Clement is written, the original form of the Recognitions of Clement is written by Clement. You don't get nowhere else this information about Clement, the way that he's presenting this information. He's being transparent with the Bishop James. And that's what people had to do when they being bishops to put set up in these places. They are actually commanded to send letters to the bishop also. That's in Jerusalem. All right. I'm gonna prove everything I'm saying. So it's letters being sent out from Jerusalem and to Jerusalem. Okay, to the church. So you got letters being sent out from the community that's in Jerusalem, from the headquarters. Then you got letters being sent to the headquarters also. So now let's check some of this stuff up, what I'm saying. So we're gonna check out, we're in the Recognitions of Clement. This is the Recognitions of Clement right here, and this is book 1. We're in book 1. Can you read? Can you read chapter 14? We're gonna read a couple of sentences in chapter 14 right here.
Okay. It says, having detailed to him what purpose I had conceived from the beginning, and how I had been distracted with vain inquiries, and all those things which at first I intimidated to you. Excuse me. That don't say that. That says what? Intimated to you.
Yeah.
My Lord James.
Mm-hmm.
So that I need not repeat the same things now. I willingly agreed to travel with him. For that, said I, is just what I was most eagerly desirous of. But first, I should wish the scheme of truth to be expounded to me, that I may know whether the soul is mortal or immortal.
You good right there. So this is Clement writing. He about to tell a story. He said, I'm not going to repeat some of the things that I told you earlier. It's something that he mentioned, because in the beginning of this, Clement, he's mentioning how he heard Barnabas speak. He heard Barnabas preach, and then from Barnabas preaching, he was inquiring more. Then from there, he actually went to Jerusalem. Then from Jerusalem, he was trying to inquire to meet Peter. And then he ended up meeting Barnabas, and then Barnabas ended up introducing him to Peter. Okay, and Peter already was hearing great things about Clement. All right, so then they just hit it off, and then eventually he became Peter attended. He became his, basically his secretary. He became his scribe. So now, but let's get it. Let's get some more information about this. Can you read? We're gonna go to chapter 17. Chapter 17. So Clement is writing letters. It's letters. All right. And each bishop, each apostle, all of them had to they had to write letters to Bishop James. All right. So this is what the Recognition of Clement is. It's a conglomerate of letters, and these letters contain the preachings of Peter. It contains Peter doctrine, how he was preaching it to the Gentiles. it contains, like I said, Jewish doctrine and history within there. And then it just more about Peter's preaching, and what and the things that was going on, through their travels of, actually chasing down Simon Magus and things like that, and just, him and Peter setting up communities, setting up bishops in different communities and things like that. That's what it's about, pretty much. And it's Clement is writing these things because he's Peter's scribe. And then at the end of the everything, before Peter dies, he anoints Clement as the bishop over Rome, succeeding after him. So that's what happens. That's then you get the recognitions of Clement and homilies with that. All right, so now let's check out chapter 17 right here. Let's check this out. Let's check this out 1 second. Let's see specifically what I want you to read at. Yeah, you can start from the top right here. Start from the top.
It says, having thus spoken, he set forth to me so openly and so clearly who that prophet was and how he might be found, that I seemed to have before my eyes and to handle with my hand the proofs which he produced concerning the prophetic truth. And I was struck with intense astonishment how no one sees, though placed before his eyes, those things which are, those things which all are seeking for, whence by his command, reducing into order what he had spoken to me. I compiled a book concerning the true prophet and sent it to you from Caesarea by his command.
So he's sending these things to James. Peter is telling Clement to send these things down. So what you read in the Recognitions of Clement, you're reading some of the things that Clement is actually writing down, is the information that Peter is teaching about how the Messiah is the true prophet. All right, he compiled a book about that. All right, the Recognitions of Clement is compiled of 10 books. All right, the Recognitions of Clement. It's a 10-book collection. And he's gonna tell you that I'm gonna read in the Recognitions of Clement, the Clement telling you that this is what the book is. And then you're gonna get all the titles what this book represents and make. But keep going though, keep going, because Peter is telling Clement to write this down for him, because he had to send this to Caesarea. He had to send this back to Jerusalem to the Bishop James. Keep going though, bro. For he said
That he had received a command from you to send you every year an account of his sayings and doings. Meantime, at the beginning of his discourse, which he delivered to me the first day, when he had instructed me very fully concerning the true prophet and very many things besides, he added also this.
You go
See,
right there. You go right there.
okay.
So he Clement is saying, okay, we have to send this stuff to you. He's been this the apostles and the bishops, they were so transparent with Bishop James and what they doing. All right. They had to do this because it was critical, because it was other opponents when it comes to the doctrine. All right. So they had to make sure everything was pretty much in order. And these bishops and the people who's going out setting up communities, which is the apostles and disciples, they had to record what they're doing and sending it back to James. All right. So so now let's go down to chapter 72. So we still in book 1. We're gonna go to chapter 72. All right, so Let's read chapter 72. This is the Recognitions of Clement, book 1, chapter 72. Can you start right here at the top?
Mhm. While therefore we abode in Jericho and gave ourselves to prayer and fasting, James the bishop sent for me and sent me here to Caesarea, saying that Zacharias had written to him from Caesarea that one Simon, a Samaritan magician, was subverting many of our people, asserting that he was one stands, uh, that he was one stands, that is, in other words, the Christ, and the great power of the high God, which is superior to the creator of the world. At the same time that he showed many miracles and made some doubt, and others fell away to him, he informed me of all things that had been ascertained respecting this man from those who had formerly been either his associates or his disciples, and had afterwards been converted to Zacharias. Many therefore there are, O Peter, said James, for whose safety's sake it behooves you to go and to refute the magician and to teach the word of truth. Therefore, make no delay, nor let it grieve you that you set out alone, knowing that the Most High, by Yasha, will go with you and will help you, and that soon, by his grace, you will have many associates and sympathizers. Now be sure that you send me in writing every year an account of your sayings and doings, and especially at the end of every 7 years. With these expressions, he dismissed me, and in 6 days, I arrived at Caesarea.
Okay, so he in Caesarea, everywhere he going, he's writing letters to James that's in Jerusalem. So not only that, it tell you read right here again. Read right here what's highlighted right here.
James the bishop sent me and sent me to Caesarea, saying that Zacharias had written to him from Caesarea that one Simon, a Samaritan magician.
So you got letters going to James, and you got letters coming from James also too, though. So James, James, what he'll do is the Bishop James, he'll either send a letter to where you at, or he's gonna send somebody to go down there to tell you what to do, to tell you something. All right. You see that, in Paul letters, you see that in Galatians. You know what I'm saying? He sent somebody, to Antioch. You know what I'm saying? When Peter and Barnabas was down there, he sent somebody down there to, I guess, to make to do to actually to implement something, And just like he's doing now, he sent people be like, okay, do this. You know what I'm saying? Do this real quick. Peter, go there. Go to Caesarea and deal with Simon the magician. Simon Magnus, deal with Simon Magnus. I just got a letter. We just got a letter from Zacharias saying that Simon Magnus is causing trouble, or where they at. All right, so you see these things, going on. You see these things happening, and that's what happened. Let me let's go to the Syriac version. I like how it reads in the Syriac version. Read this for me right here in the Syriac version.
Therefore, after our fleeing from Jerusalem to Jericho and our prayer there, after the fast, a man came to us from there who 6 days prior was sent by James. He sent him to me and said, do not be distressed that you travel alone. There are for you many sons of the Levites who are hastening to be with you at every time. Wherefore, go now regarding this affair. You have been appointed over it. For Zacharias, who is in Caesarea Straton, wrote to me that Simon, a Samaritan man from the village of Get Give, excuse me, Githonum.
You go right there. So it reads, it tells you, it lets you know more in the Syriac version that James sent men. He sent when it's so in the Latin Greek version we have it just say he what it say? It say James the bishop sent for me, right? He sent for me. But to be more clear, that sent for me, James always sending people to do something. He sent him to me. James, sent by James, a man came to Peter, sent by James, and he sent him to me and said, all right, so you got letters being sent, you got people being sent, and you got letters being sent to vice versa, being out there. So now let's keep going. So we're gonna read this. Let me just go to this, go back to the Latin version. I'm gonna go to book 3. Book 3 in the Recognitions of Clement. We're gonna go to book 3. Gonna go to chapter 73. All right, so this is book 3, chapter 73. We're gonna start at chapter 73. Can you read this right here for me, bro? Let's start right there.
But in those days, a letter was received from the brethren who had gone before, in which were detailed the crimes of Simon, how going from city to city he was deceiving multitudes, and everywhere maligning Peter, so that when he should come, no one might afford him a hearing.
Hold on, you go
For
right
he,
there. You go right there. So there's more letters. So you got letters of other people writing letters to Peter. People write letters to Peter. So it's Jerusalem church have people are sending letters out, and we're reading Clement letter that he's sending to James, keeping James informed of what's going on. So these is letters, people receiving letters are being sent to Peter also. And Peter is sending letters to other people also. Okay, not only is Peter sending letters to James, but Peter is sending letters to his people that he got with him, because James said, "Don't be discouraged. You're gonna have Levites with you. You're gonna have. You're gonna. He got Peter actually have a company with him also. All right, and he's setting up things, and he's sending and he have them doing work, and he's sending letters to them while they're going out doing things and reporting back to him also. All right, it's just like James the president, and Peter is the what's the right hand man to the president, not the vice president, but the one that goes out and actually he could be the vice president because he's the
you
one
talking
that's
like the Secretary of State or something like that?
yeah, like Secretary of State. He's Peter technically, he would be called pretty much like Peter would be called like the chief of staff, yeah, like the chief of staff, you know, the next person in line. You know what I'm saying? That's going out, the administrator that's going out for the president. You know what I'm saying? So we got 10 minutes left on this one. But let's read this real quick. Let's read chapter 73. Oh no, matter of fact, let's go down because he's gonna read something. So read this for me. Let's read chapter 74. He's gonna read the letter that he has been sent to him.
All right. It says, Peter therefore ordered the letter to be read to the people. And after the reading of it, he addressed them and gave them full instructions about everything, but especially that they should obey Zacharias, whom he had ordained bishop over them.
All right, so
All
that's good. Now, but let's jump down to where matter of fact, just keep reading right here also.
Also, he commended the presbyters and the deacons to the people, and not less the people to them, and then announcing that he should spend the winter at Tropolis, Tripolis. He said, I commend you to the grace of the Most High, being about to depart tomorrow with the Most High's will, but during the whole 3 months which he spent at Caesarea for the sake of instruction, whatever he discoursed of in the presence of the people in the daytime, he explained more fully and perfectly in the night, in private to us, as more faithful and completely approved by him. And at the same time, he commanded me, because he understood that I carefully stored in my memory what I heard, to commit to writing whatever seemed worthy of record, and to send it to you, my Lord James, as also I did in obedience to his command.
So you got it's a lot of things being compiled. The church had many letters, and then not only do you got scrolls being sent out from Jerusalem, but then you also have Greco-Roman formatted letters being sent out also to Jerusalem and to other places. Clement was a scribe. Clement was a Roman. Clement was he was a Roman citizen. He grew up in a nice school. He tell you this in the beginning of his letter. He tell you this, his schooling, and how he went to the schooling of the prestige and things like that. He's a nice scribe. He can write. He can write. And he's letting you know right now. He's saying Peter knew that I have a good memory. I store a lot of my memory. Peter was excited that Clement accepted his proposal of being his secretary, being his scribe, and Clement was excited also. All right, so and Clement, he got a lot of things that's being taught by Peter that he's putting down in writing and preserving it and sending it to James. All right. Let's read 75 real quick, right here.
Okay.
This is what when we're going to read. This is what the book of the recognitions of Clement is right here. This is what it is, and this is what he's writing to James. You can go, bro.
The first book, therefore, of those that I formerly sent to you contains an account of the true prophet and of the peculiarity of the understanding of the law, according to what the tradition of Moses teaches. The second contains an account of the beginning, and whether there be one beginning or many, and that the law of the Hebrews knows what immensity is.
So
The
that's two
third,
books. That's two books. There's a third one right here.
the third concerning the Most High, and those things that have been ordained by him. The fourth, that though there are many that are called gods, there is but one true God, according to the testimonies of the scriptures. The fifth, that there are two heavens, one of which is that visible firmament, which shall pass away, but the other is eternal and invisible. The sixth, concerning good and evil, and that all things are subject to good by the Father, and why and how and whence evil is come, and that and that it cooperates with good, but not with a good purpose, and what are the signs of good, and what those of evil, and what is the difference between duality and conjunction. The seventh, what are the things which the 12 apostles treated in the presence of the people in the temple. The eighth, concerning the words of the Lord, which seem to be contradictory, but are not. And what is the explanation of them? The ninth, that the law which has been given by the Most High is righteous and perfect, and that it alone can make pure. The 10th, concerning the carnal birth of man, and concerning the generation which is by baptism, and what is the succession of carnal seed in man, and what is the account of his soul, and how the freedom of the will is in it, which seeing it is not unbegotten, but made, could not be immovable from good. Concerning these several subjects, therefore, whatever Peter discoursed at Caesarea, according to his command, as I have said, I have sent you writing in 10 volumes. But on the next day, as had been determined, we set out from Caesarea with some faithful men who had resolved to accompany Peter.
So he put a 10-book volume of what's in Caesarea. All right. And this is what we get right here in the Recognitions of Clement. This is a 10-book volume. And this 10-book volume is fragments of the 10-book volume of what he had in Caesarea. And it's another volume of books that he was sending to James, writing the things was going on with Peter for the other areas that Peter was going into. Also, so this is what the Recognitions of Clement makes up. It makes up those things, especially what he just read. And you can find those things within this 10 books of the Recognitions of Clement. It's something that was said, but let me read it in the Syriac version. 1 second. All right. Can you read this sentence right here? The 10th score right here.
It says, and then the 10th discourse concerning generation has within it even of the Son of Man, and that baptism is by water.
And that baptism is by water. So the early Jewish Christians, they understood that baptism is by water, and they had a book, okay, that concerned this. Well, it was Clement, he put together a book that concerned this, being baptism is by water, not by other things that people try to say nowadays. Oh, it's by the word, or it's by no. It lets you know the early Jewish Christian, they understood it to be by water. All right. And this is teachings is coming from Peter that Clement is writing now and compiling it into a book and sending it to James. All right. We're going to come back and do the other half of it. Let me stop this real quick.